What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the hashtag lunchtime live draft presented by the Gridiron Experts Fantasy Facts Podcast. So glad to have everybody enjoying lunchtime with me. I am the at home dad. You can find me on Twitter at FF the at home dad. We did a little shift to the schedule this week. We're starting off on Thursday instead of Tuesday like we normally do. But we're going to try and jump into a quick draft here. Try and make a little something happen for our 1 o'clock slates coming up in week 3. How exciting is it to have week 3 here? We finally get a chance to be able to see, like, all right, week 1, this team was really good. Week 2, they weren't. So who are they in real life? Am I talking about the Saints? Maybe. But there's plenty of teams out there. There's plenty of fantasy players out there that had, a great week 1, not such a great week 2. Where do they fall? Probably somewhere in the middle. But that's what's great about week 3 is now we get some kind of tiebreaker that lets us know, hey, this person, they might be a little bit better than we thought, or they might be a little bit worse than we thought. So this week, I'm going to do a 4-person, 1 o'clock draft. I have a few guys that I'm looking forward to. We're waiting on one last person to jump into it. So if you want to draft with me, get on Underdog right now. Jump into the $3 4-person draft. You could be the 4th person in the lobby. Go ahead and do that. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, you definitely should sign up at Underdog Fantasy, underdogfantasy.com. Use the promo code FAQS, that's FAQS, and you're going to go ahead and get yourself a little added bonus when you sign up. So make sure you do that whenever you get a chance. And so to get us started, as we're waiting for this to happen, we're going to do a quick kind of look back into week 2, and then a look ahead into week 3. So week 2, we saw Derrick Henry and Aaron Jones go off. I feel like I was a week behind on this one, or I guess a week ahead actually, because I was all about Derrick Henry in week 1, and he did nothing. Week 2, he popped off for the highest score of the week with 44 points. If you had Derrick Henry in your lineup, you pretty much won yourself the week. Aaron Jones made me a little bit upset at the fact that he played on Monday night, and it felt like if I wasn't playing against Derrick Henry, I was playing against Aaron Jones. But Aaron Jones, good for you. Had yourself a day. And Kyler Murray is really showing us that he has the skills to really produce at a very, very high fantasy level. He has back-to-back games now where he was just shy of 300 yards passing week 1, put up 400 week 2. He's throwing for over 30 attempts a game. He's keeping a really good completion percentage. He had an 80% completion percentage last year. He went for 4 touchdowns in week 1, 3 touchdowns in week 2, and both weeks added a touchdown on the ground. So granted, he was going up against Tennessee and Minnesota. Those are kind of light passing defenses. But in week 3, he gets the Jags. And guess what? That's going to be another week where he's probably going to have himself a day. So Kyler Murray is definitely a guy that's on top of my kind of waiting list at quarterback for these underdog drafts. Chances are I probably won't get him unless I reach a little bit for him, but he is definitely a player worth reaching for. Right underneath him, and also right underneath him in the underdog rankings, is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson had a really bad game passing, but made up for it a ton in week 2. He basically saved that team with 107 yards rushing. So that was a monster game for him. He's another quarterback where you're probably going to reach a little bit, but man, what an option he is. Ooh, all right. We got our draft filled, so I'm going to go ahead and get us set up for that. Watching as we draft our way through it. I'm going to be drafting out of the second spot. There's going to be some um, definitely some great options for me. I'm right off the bat here. If I go running back, if I go wide receiver, I feel like I can wait on wide receiver. I feel like running back is definitely the first option here, and I'm probably not going to reach for a quarterback in this first one. The kind of main running back I'm looking at right now is Dalvin Cook. Derrick Henry does sit kind of nicely for me, but I am a little nervous about who he's going to kind of really what's going to happen in that Indy game. Whereas I think Cook, even though he was a little dinged up, he's going to be my first overall pick. Actually, wait a second here. Yeah, we're gonna go with Delvin Cook out of there. Um, Partly because McCaffrey isn't an option, but he is definitely the guy that I'm gonna be looking for there. If I'm lucky, I'm really excited about Aaron Jones again this week. So I might be trying to scoop him up and get that kind of running back not stack, but that running back early look. It's a little bit harder to hit the big payouts, but it does provide a nice safe option for you. If you're going running back, the question is, do you get that kind of big hit, right? And so we're hoping that we get that big hit happening, but we'll see what we get dropping to us. Derrick Henry went off the board right after I did, and it looks like Devontae Adams went right after that. We're waiting on the double pick here at the turn. So we only have four guys, and that's a really nice start here with Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had himself a dud of a week this past week, but he is definitely a guy that um, has just game breaking ability. So he is definitely a very, very worthwhile pick right there. So I am not going quarterback yet. I am still looking at some really good options at running back, but I'd rather go ahead and get my wide receivers here. I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to scoop him up with this pick because I think Arizona is going to they're going to use the passing game to just whoop up on Jacksonville. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop that. My stack got broke, but that's okay because Kyler Murray went off the board right after my pick went, but that's okay. Nothing to worry about there. Now the question is, and see with the starting requirements being one running back, two wide receivers, and a flex, I am looking at wide receiver here, and it makes me really, really nervous because they are such a hit or miss guy, but they've been hitting. I am looking at Lockett. I'm looking at Ridley. I'm looking at DK. And man, I can't believe I'm about to do it. I think I'm going to go with Lockett here because I want the big hit. If it hits, I'm going to be in a really good place to win this week. If he doesn't, well, that sucks. Is just kind of how it goes, and that's why I do a lot of the $3 drafts. One, because I like to diversify, and two, because I think my wife would have an issue if I was dropping numerous $100 drafts. So I definitely do a lot more of the kind of lesser what you call it, the lesser um lesser entry fee, right? Type of drafts. So it looks like we have Lockett, Ridley, the guy that I was just thinking about, and you were getting some good running backs falling. You have Kamara falling. Kamara's a guy that was, um, I mean, he's a guy that I'm just a little bit nervous about. I don't know if he's going to be a guy that I am going to be, on board with for this week. He has a very tough, he has a tough matchup as well as just who knows whether or not the Saints are going to be week 1 Saints or week 2 Saints. And so that's where I'm going to hold just a little bit because I want to make sure that if I'm picking up a guy like Kamara, I want to make sure he's doing kind of doing the big plays that I want. I don't want that dud opportunity. All right. So I am next up on the list here. I could go ahead and take a swing at one of these running backs, one of these quarterbacks. But since I have this short turnaround, I'm really looking at the tight end position here, and I'm going with Waller. I still think he is the clearly number 2 option in this, or really number 1 option in Las Vegas. He's the number 2 option in terms of tight ends. So I am all about him. And Aaron Jones just got scooped up. That was a really nice play by them. So I am going to go ahead and sit and wait um on my on my last flex position. I'll make a choice of whether or not I want that to be a um running back or wide receiver later. But I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and scoop up Josh Allen here. I think he's gonna have himself a great day. I know they're going up against Washington, but Washington's defense has not been what it's been. Um, it hasn't produced what people kind of want it to produce, and so I'm not too afraid of Josh Allen this week. I think Washington is going to. I think they're going to be just fine. And now we get to look. I'm going to look at wide receivers here for my flex play. Um, and there's still a lot of really good guys out there. I have Jefferson. Jefferson to me is probably going to be where I go if he comes back to me because I'm going to hope for the Seattle Minnesota high scoring game where it just keeps going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with Lockett and Justin Jefferson just racking up points. We got 2 picks before that happens, though. And so let's see what ends up happening. There's some tight end needs that need to be addressed. So I'm going to be able to scoop up Jefferson here. And I am very happy with that option, being able to grab Jefferson. And so let's see here. My final roster for this one is going to be Josh Allen. I didn't get the stack. I didn't get to pair him with Diggs, but that's okay. I don't mind playing a guy like Josh Allen naked. I got Dalvin Cook, who I think is going to, he'll be just fine. I'm really kind of loading up on this Minnesota Seattle game. I think it's going to be one of the games that we're going to have a super high just combined total in that game. So I'm perfectly fine with that. Hopkins and Lockett as my 2 wide receivers. I'm going to add Justin Jefferson into it right now, and then Darren Waller as my tight end. I think I set myself up really nicely for a shot here. Again, I went with a lot of higher upside guys, but those higher upside guys are guys that help you be able to put put winnings in the bank, because if you just play pedestrian, you kind of are hoping for everybody else to bust. And can that happen? Sure. But I'd rather go ahead and take a shot here at, scooping up some of these higher upside plays. As much as I fear Lockett and his ability to maintain what he's doing, taking a shot like that is perfectly fine for me. I have a little bit of time left on I got a little bit of time left on my lunch break. So I'm just going to do a quick little look into week 3. So just a little bit of, what games that I'm looking forward to, games that I think you can kind of take advantage of, or games that you should be a little bit more afraid of in terms of underdog. One, the Thursday night game, I am not touching. One, I don't really trust Carolina's offense. Two, it looks like the Texans are going to be starting Davis Mills. And unless I'm in one of the larger formats, like a 10-teamer, I'm going to stay away from pretty much everybody except for, like the Texans. They have what's his name? Brandon Cooks, that I would take a flyer at, Christian McCaffrey. But for the most part, it's going to be real slim pickings in that Thursday night game. So that's a game I'm not really excited for in DFS or underdog. I'm also a little bit nervous about the Chargers Chiefs game. The Chargers have been held to 20 points or less in the first 2 games. And so I think there's a little bit of narrative conflict that's happening, where people want the Chargers to be this amazing offense. And I think there are some pieces of it that are amazing, but the Cowboys were able to hold them to only 17 points. And so something has to be off in the narrative there of how people are telling the story of that game. Either the Cowboys defense is better than people thought it was, or the Chargers offense was worse, at least in that week, than people thought it would be. And so do I think the Chargers offense can rebound? I do. Do I think that the Cowboys defense can disappoint us in the future? I mean, I got my Cowboys scarf hanging up somewhere in the background here. Yeah, I think the Cowboys defense can disappoint us, but I think something's a little bit off with with that narrative, right? And so I'm a little bit nervous about that, except for like Mahomes, and he's going to find a way to get his guys the ball. So I'm perfectly okay with starting Mahomes. But like I said, I took Allen over Mahomes in a game against the Washington football team, because I think that defense is, I think they've been a little bit overrated. People have been able to score on them, and that offense hasn't given them much to really kind of hang their hat on. I mean, Washington barely escaped the Giants last week, and the Giants were able to put up 29 points against that defense. The Chargers, Washington held them to 20. And the Chargers were still able to squeak out a win in that one. But putting up 20 points, putting up 29 points, and those teams I don't think have the dynamics of the Buffalo Bills, and especially Josh Allen, right? Justin Herbert's been a little bit more of a pocket passer, guy like Josh Allen who can get out, escape the pocket. Austin Eckler has a lot more facets to his game than like Devin Singletary and Zach Moss do, but those aren't guys that I'm really looking at in my underdog plays or anything like that. I am totally excited about the Cardinals game and them being able to trounce the Jaguars. I'm also really excited about, and this is weird, but I think there's a lot of money to kind of be had in the Falcons-Giants game. I don't think either of those defenses put up much of a fight. I think this is just going to be a whoever can kind of put the most points on the board. Do I trust either of those offenses? No. Am I excited to start anybody from those teams in my managed leagues? Probably not. But I am excited to put Calvin Ridley in, in a couple lineups. I'm excited to put even a guy like Darius Slayton, who I can get for almost nothing. I'm excited to put him into some of my lineups. Sterling Shepard is an opportunity. Saquon Barkley should be able to recover, and even a guy like Cordarrelle Patterson. He was a guy that I talked about a lot in the best ball drafts leading up to the season, because Underdog had him slotted in as a wide receiver. He put up 20 something points last week. That's a guy that, he probably is going to take a pretty big pay hike right now, but a guy that is going to be available to put into some of your lineups if you want to take a risky play like that. High risk, high reward type of play. Another game that I think you can take advantage of is the Ravens Lions game. Goff has been good, then bad, then good, then bad, then good, then bad, all within the same like quarter. So, do I think there's a lot to love about this, Lions offense? No. Do I think does Hawkinson offer a ton of upside? Absolutely. Does Quintez Cephas offer a lot of upside? Absolutely. Does Swift offer upside? Absolutely. And that doesn't even touch on what Lamar Jackson should be able to do against the Lions. I think this is a great opportunity to put Tyson Williams into your lineups with a little bit of confidence, because the Lions have been essentially run all over. San Francisco ran all over them. Green Bay ran all over them. I expect Tyson Williams and Lamar Jackson to run all over the Lions. So I'm excited to kind of squeak those guys in. I am not all on board Marquise Brown yet, but Marquise Brown has proven that he is the guy for Lamar Jackson right now. He's the guy that Lamar is looking for. So he's another one that his price is going to be reduced. If you're setting a price lineup, if you're doing underdog and you're drafting, you're not going to get them in a shallower draft like we just did with a 4-person draft. But if you do a larger one, you're going to be able to get him later on, because a lot of people, unless you're drafting with Ravens fans or people that have him maybe on their fantasy roster, a lot of people aren't excited about Marquise Brown. They're still down on him because he hasn't lived up to the Hollywood hype that he got coming in. And so you're probably going to get him at a discount. And that just means a better opportunity for you to take advantage of. And then the last one that I'll talk about, and actually that's a lie, there's two that I want to talk about. The Seahawks and Vikings at 4 on Sunday, and then the Sunday night game, Packers and 49ers. Both of these games, I think, are games where we see a lot of these offenses kind of bounce back. I think Seattle and Minnesota, those two are going to just be a whoever can score the most points. And I know that's the point of the game, but I don't really trust either of those defenses. And so I don't expect the defenses to really stop. I expect it to be a matter of which offenses make the most mistakes, or which offense, can't get into the end zone, or the defensive stop is keeping them to a field goal versus a touchdown. I think we're going to get a whole lot of points out of that Seattle Vikings game, just like the Atlanta Giants game. I think we're going to get a lot of points out of those, because I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of defense being played. So I am excited to fire up Russ, Lockett. DK's been a little bit low, but I think that's because Lockett's been so high. At some point, that's going to even out somewhere. I just drafted Lockett in our 4-person draft we just did on Underdog, so I hope it's not this week. But that was a tough call for me to be able to say, do I go DK or Lockett, especially with how inconsistent Lockett has been historically. But let's roll with it. I'm all right with rolling with it again. It's a pick your poison type of thing. Kind of like that Tampa Bay offense is a pick your poison. One of those 3 receivers and tight end is going to have themselves a day. It's a matter of trying to pick the right one. And that's why I always suggest doing a handful of these, either lineups or drafts where you're putting in less money, but you get to diversify a little bit more. One, it'll help you figure out who you want to go after. but it'll also give you the opportunity to diversify the people that you're picking up, right? In one draft, you might scoop up Lockett, and another one you might pick up DK. The Vikings, same thing. I'm excited to. I can't believe I'm going to say I'm excited to fire up Kirk Cousins, but I think he's going to have himself a decent day. I think Justin Jefferson has himself a day. I think Adam Thielen can have himself a day, and I think Dalvin Cook can have himself a day. I think all of those guys. Yes, somebody's going to have a little bit down of a week, but I think all of them have the potential in these games to put up those 30, 40-point weeks that win you a DFS play or a weekly play. And then the last one, the Packers and 49ers. The Packers have not been great. Their defense is not great. Their offense was terrible week 1, much better week 2. But week 2, they faced Detroit. However, when San Francisco faced Detroit, Detroit was able to run all over San Francisco. So could this be another opportunity for Aaron Jones to pop off? I definitely think it could be. So I was a little disappointed just a few minutes ago when Aaron Jones got scooped up. I was excited to have him as my flex over a wide receiver, but I am still happy to have Justin Jefferson as my flex in that lineup. So I think you could have, again, another good grouping up off here. I do think that this is an opportunity for Aaron Jones to do a little bit more this week than maybe Devontae Adams, but a lot of that's going to depend on what San Francisco does. San Francisco has shown that all they have to do is get the ball in Debo's hands, and Debo will get plenty of yak. And so does that mean that, all we got to do is look out for Debo? Maybe, but what that could mean is if Debo is able to score a couple times, if, the San Fran has a bunch of guys on their team that can make a quick hit play and take it the distance and swing momentum for a game. If that happens, then Green Bay is going to have to throw the ball in order to catch up. And, Rodgers to Devontae Adams is a locked and loaded stack. A sneaky one is Rodgers. Sneaky, I don't know if it really counts anymore, but Rodgers to Tanyan is another halfway decent play here. And the question is kind of what this game flow is going to be. And I think that we're going to get a decent amount. One, because I think Green Bay's offense is going to be able to click a little bit more. I think they're going to get the ball a little bit more into Aaron Jones's hands. And I think as they do that, they're going to be able to keep a much more even game plan that's going to allow especially Aaron Jones to do well, but allow them to not have to force things, and unless San Francisco has one of those quick hit plays. And so that is your week 3 preview. Some games that I am excited about. Notice I didn't say anything about the Jets or Broncos. Don't play those guys. There's a handful of games in here I'm not thrilled about in terms of any type of DFS or weekly plays. But just kind of staying away from definitely the Thursday night game and also the Chargers Chiefs game. I know that's going to be tough for a lot of people, especially because of the big names in it. I wouldn't be surprised if this game, I want to say the over under is around like 51 or something like that. I have to double check that, but I want to say the over under is into the low 50s. I don't think that's going to happen. Surprised if this game finishes, at 50 or slightly below it. Chiefs 30, Chargers 20 seems to have that kind of game plan written all over it. But I think it could actually be a little bit closer than that. So I'd be a little wary of those games. And that's going to do it for my lunchtime. The lunch break is almost over, which means it's time to bring the hashtag lunchtime live draft to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you draft along with me at some point. Feel free to reach out to me, DM me. You can find me on Twitter at FFTheAtHomeDad. And I hope you enjoyed our draft that we did. Get on Underdog Fantasy. It is the most fun I have because you draft every week, you draft every time, and it's one of the few legal ways to do player prop bets in New York State where I'm living. So I love Underdog for that. Even though I haven't hit my big parlays yet, I've always been off by one guy. It's that one leg, one. But that'll do it for the hashtag Lunchtime Live Draft. Catch you on the flip side.